High fives and helpful hints. Distinguished Toastmaster Judy Jopley.
Toastmasters, what is a true speech evaluation? You listen, you observe, and you offer feedback. It's the ability to truly understand a speech and say things of value that actually help the speaker improve. We're not evaluating to impress anybody. Instead, it's all about expressing our honest opinion of a speech in a fashion that best helps the speaker. This is one of my favorite quotes. How many don't you wish for an impromptu speech that you could take a couple weeks? But no, in Toastmasters, we've got probably tops in contest 5 minutes. Now, by a show of hands, I can't see everybody, so Beverly, you'll have to help me out here. How many like being evaluated? Well, she's smiling. Okay, that's good. Now, how many like doing evaluations? Yes. Well, who's better to tell us how to do them creatively than Dr. Seuss, one of the world's champion storytellers? Evaluations, I think, are conversations between the speaker and the evaluator, and thirdly, the audience. Never forget the audience, because everybody can improve by learning from each other. Benefits, you get instant feedback. I don't know, how many of you remember what you had breakfast for this morning? I don't even remember. But when you do your speech and you get instant feedback, it sticks. It heightens awareness of your good points and things you need to improve on right away. Not only the speaker, but the audience gets to have heightened awareness because you really listened hard. It's important to develop your own style to be flexible and complementary. Now, by your constructive suggestions, you're going to motivate and help a speaker. I recently listened to a speaker who said her anxiety was higher than the Himalayas. That was an aha moment for me. I learned something. Higher than the Himalayas, that's a metaphor. How powerful is that to include in speeches? I learned something right then and there that I need to look for more choices of metaphors and similes and good language. It was a aha moment. Now, a good evaluation always includes positive reinforcement. Speaker needs to know what they can do right, but specific improvements. And the key word there is specific. Now, you know, in Toastmasters, everybody likes the Oreo cookie analogy. I think we are way beyond that. I approach things a little bit differently. I think that you have to have a fourth part, and that's the opening. I think that you need to be able to express an overview of the whole picture, maybe an emotional feeling. What can you say that sort of sets the stage? Each one of us is capable of giving a evaluation that has a little more substance to it. Good comments, insights, and improvements for motivating. Lesson number 1. Evaluations are about educating speakers about your preferences and impressions, not about selling your way to do it the right way. So, in Dr. Seuss's words, today is your day, your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Evaluations are like mini speeches. If you remember, the first and last thing you say in the speech really rings high on the memory meter. I like spending those first few seconds, 10 to 20 seconds, letting the speaker know how it made me feel. It validates the fact that I really listened and I observed them. Horton the elephant always says, I mean what I say and I say what I mean. An elephant's faithful 100%. Now, if you don't listen, you can't be genuine. So lesson number 2, let's get creative and stand out. There are a couple ways you might look at your opening. From the emotional, impressionistic standpoint, were you motivated? Were you moved to tears? Were you entertained? Did you notice that the audience was held in rapt attention? Paint the picture. Maybe the second thing you might consider is the overview of their physical presence. Did they have command of the stage? Did you feel like you needed to sit up straight all of a sudden, that you were before General MacArthur? Was it well rehearsed and ready for Broadway? Okay, another moment, which I just demonstrated, was your aha moment. Did you suddenly say, oh my gosh, now I understand that tears aren't just for crying, they can be for laughter too? Or did you know, who knew that men used to wear high heels first so their foot wouldn't slip through the stirrup? Wouldn't you like to see the men wear today's high heels? All of those beginnings and techniques will show that you observed and listened and you got something out of the meeting. And I gave you an example of 3 different ways you might start, but don't forget the theme. You can always be very thematic. We just came off summer vacations. So you might start off with something like, you just gave me the roadmap for adventure. Who needs a triptych when I've got you to listen to? So you can play off the theme. Now we've got holidays coming up. You could be excited, but the speech could be about what they're doing to prepare. So you might lighten it up by saying, holidays, let's deck the halls with stress and mother-in-laws. So then you keep on going. Now, the opening consists of not coming up with new ideas, but in having new eyes. Now, we've gotten through the opening. The good stuff is usually the easiest and the most fun to talk about. I aim for about 40 to 60 seconds to share the good things, and I only choose 1 or 2. Creating content doesn't have to be drudgery, like storytelling. It's about conveying information in an engaging and interesting way. I think of it as a verbal infograph. So look at my infograph: 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. You just go down those different items. Now, here's where I'd like you to take part. And Beverly, you have to help me since I can't see the audience. You can raise your hand, and Beverly, you can call on them. I would like you to tell me some specific aspects of a speech that you might comment on. Name 1 aspect. I've got them listed there, but I want specifics. Anyone stepping up, or shall I go on?
David has his hand up.
All right, go ahead.
I mean, I always look at the introduction, and specifically in that, it could be, if it's more of a fact-based speech, what's the person's background? Did the introduction catch my attention? More specifically, is there something in the introduction that makes me want to listen more?
Okay. Okay, so you're talking about their choice of words and their content. I have listed some areas that I look for. Like when I hear their voice, I try to think of, well, did they really project well? Did they have a very tempo and a rhythm? Did they give me good pace and pause? Were they clear and articulate? So I look at those kinds of comments to be very specific. I don't think it's enough to say your voice was very soothing. What about the voice that was soothing? It was the deep tones, or was it the contrast that kept our interest? So I look for more specifics. The next thing on my list
Judy,
is,
Judy, Jessica, and Kim have their hands up.
Oh, fine, go ahead.
Yes, Judy, I like to look for the way the speaker uses the stage and their body language. Specifically, I like to point out something maybe that is a tick that they have that they may not have noticed, or how well that they use their body language.
Okay. How about on Zoom? What can we do on Zoom?
We can use the square properly and not get too close, too far away from. If you have a blurred background, make sure that you're not, out of the camera like I am right now.
Sure. Use your hands on your face. In Zoom, your facial expressions can be so important. And your voice on Zoom really can take off. Sometimes you have to do exaggerations and make changes to adjust to your environment. Who else had their hand up?
Nobody else that I can see, but I also wanted to make a comment. Oh, Olivia. Olivia has a hand up.
Hi, everybody. I was going to comment about body language. I think it's so important how we compose ourselves in front of our audience and feel really comfortable in our own bodies and our skin when we're trying to deliver a message that leaves impact in others' hearts and souls. And I always notice how certain speakers overextend their arms, their hands, or they tend to stay a little hidden from the physical space that they can step into to make their audience feel so welcomed and embraced by their speech. And so that's what I like to look at in addition to everything else we learned from the speech.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you just demonstrated great facial expressions. You had a lot of modulations and a lot of facial head movements. So to me, that would have been something to comment on Zoom, because you were able to use your voice and your face to come alive and give it energy.
Thank you.
What I like is choice of words. If you have a message and you want to say it one time, I'd like to hear it again and again. Maybe your message is tears aren't just for sadness. Maybe repeat that 2 or 3 times to emphasize your point. Again, it depends on the speech, but I like to comment on the choice of your words if they've really gone out of their way to make it different and impactful. And of course, the timing and the pace is always important. Don't you just hate it when someone asks a question and then they just barrel right on and don't stop? Make sure you mention that. Let them know in their speech. Timing and pace is everything. And I know Kim, as our local comedian, can really tell you that pace and the way you say something really makes a difference and a success in your speech.
Very much.
Very much so.
Very much.
Okay. Next one, unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. And you know that is. So remember, it's all about helping someone else to improve as well as the audience. Now you've got 40 to 60 seconds, in my point, to analyze what they could have done better. And again, you're using those same parameters, the voice, the use of stage, the body language, choice of words, timings. So while they can also be the very plus sides, there are also things that you can concentrate on being improving areas. Again, I would concentrate just on 2, or 2 is really good. 3 if you have to do it, but I like 2. There are different ways of saying when you give constructive versus destructive criticism. I'm going to exaggerate this, but I have heard people say, you had constant moving of your hands and arms. You reminded me of a bird flapping its wings. That's sort of not really encouraging. Okay, it tells me what I did wrong, but I think it would have been more powerful if you had said, I would like to see a more meaningful and purposeful use of your arms. Pair your gestures only to support your strongest points and words. What you've done is you have drawn their attention to the excessive moving, but you've given them a solution, and that is key. If you say, oh, you lost touch with your audience, that doesn't tell them how to fix it. How did I lose touch with the audience? Was I looking down too much? Was I reading from my papers? Was every time I went to think about something, I looked up and I lost touch with my audience? So be specific about what you lost. One of the biggest things I've seen in contests and even in meetings is that the evaluator speaks just to the speaker. That's not right. The whole audience should be involved. We're all here to learn and we all want to improve. So I think it's really important that we address everybody, including yourself, because you want to improve by observing and listening closely. Now, with all critiques, Sue says, step with great care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Okay, we've done the good stuff. We've done the improvement. We did the opening. So now it's a big finish. There's a couple ways that you can end on your big finish, and I'll go through those. But remember, the opening and your end are real high on the memory meter. It's how you open and how you end that will stay longest with your audience. I believe that the closing leaves a lingering impression. It recaps constructive direction and it gives encouragement. There are other things you can involve. You can pick up a remark from its opening. One strength, one improvement. You can encourage them to continue, and this has got to be your big bang. I know a lot of people like to say, I'm looking forward to your next speech. That's okay, but if you're going to use that as a fallback, you need to say it with real enthusiasm and energy. I can't wait until I hear your next speech. But better than that, why not try something a little more creative that will stand out from everybody else? Give a powerful quote that maybe is your favorite, or share a lesson that you learned from the speech. You've taught us valuable lessons that surround us if only we want to learn. Thank you for reminding us that crying's not for sad times. Or perhaps what you see is not always what you get. Your powerful presentation was an even more powerful lesson. And stop there. You don't need to say, I'm looking forward to your new speech. Make your words end the speech for you. There's another way you can end, and that is to use a favorite metaphor or a relatable story. If you remember, years ago, Susan Boyle walked out on the stage of The Voice. Everyone thought it was a joke, and they started laughing until she sang. The snickering audience fell silent. Toastmaster, today your speech put that same joy of discovery into my heart and now beats stronger because of you. You opened with an emotion, you close with an emotion. In the words of Dr. Seuss, I meant what I said and I said what I meant. Who can doubt old Horton the elephant? I get a lot of questions about how do you judge the timing of your speeches? Well, first, your opening. I like the emotional part to be somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. That's the whole impression that sets the stage. And then you've got 40 to 60 seconds. Now, this is where you talk about the good, positive stuff. And yes, sometimes that can be tough, especially if the speaker is extremely well rehearsed and does a bang up job. You still can find at least one or two things that you can help them to improve upon and focus on that. Don't try to get in 5 or 6 things, just 1 or 2. And then specifically and with great tact, you move into the constructive improvement areas. And again, stick to 2. Now, this also can be hard if the speaker is really, really horrible. You've got 5,000 things you want to tell them. That's only happened to me once. And I didn't know where to start. But you've got to concentrate and think really hard. What is the 1 or 2 things that would most improve the speech? And then at the end, you summarize and you motivate. An important lesson here is you don't have to hit the red. I don't know why people keep talking when they've said something really great, they've had a good ending, and then they keep on going. You just need to hit the green. And if you want to end, go ahead and take another 30 seconds to end. And if you get the red, great. But you don't have to get to the red card. Let's see. Speeches and evaluations go together like green eggs and ham. Each one of us is capable of giving an evaluation with something a little more substance, something that's valuable to the speaker and to yourself and the audience. There are 3 parts to this. Remember, lesson number 1, evaluations are not about educating speakers about your preferences and impressions. It's not selling them the way is the right way. It's just your impressions. Lesson number 2, listen carefully, consider all of your options and try to get creative. Make sure you're creatively standing out. It's the only way you can win in a contest. And lesson 3, give actionable feedback, something they can specifically improve upon and know what the action is. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. I know each one of you can be evaluamazing. And back to you, Toastmaster Beverly.